Okay, here we are in Photoshop CC, and I'm going to go over a couple of things. First, I'm going to just look at setting up your workspace, and this is something you're going to find in most Adobe software versions from Dreamweaver. The tool we're using here is Dreamweaver and Photoshop, and they're all basically the same. So first you go up to Window, and you go to Workspace, and you see we're in Essentials, which is where I think is the best for us. If you needed to, if you made some type of a diversion from the original format here, and you wanted to save it, you just go to New Workspace, save it as your name, or save it as anything you wanted to, and that would be your workspace. But this is set up pretty good for us right here, I think. I'm going to get rid of this. Properties, and come over here and look at what you do to open a document. Either you would go to New to create something, or you'd go to Open. Say you had a picture on your desktop and you want to open up the picture on your desktop. If I go to New, this window is going to open, and it's going to give me US paper, photo, web, film and video. What we want is web, because we're not interested in US paper, because everything we're doing is going to be done on the web. And what this does is it gives you a format that's going to work with the web. It's almost, what you create is going to be pretty close to, and you see on the screen here is going to be pretty close to what you are going to see on the screen when you incorporate everything into your website or your graphics or whatever. So if I go to web, I get 72 dots per inch, which is what we want. And I get the size is 800 by 600. Maybe this is going to be a little bit dependent on whatever type of monitor you're working on, or it's going to be dependent on how big the site is going to be. Or just the image. So what I'm going to do now is just open up an image I have on my desktop, and it's where are we on desktop? And it's where is it? Here it is. Just kind of a, I don't know, maybe a ridiculous image. But what we're going to do first is we're going to look at the selection tools, which are right up top. You see there's a bar that divides them right here, and it divides all these tools which fall into their categories. What we're going to look at first is the selection tools. So you notice that when you press down on a square, you get not in every single one, but in the majority of them, you'll get options. Whether I want to do an elliptical shape or rectangular. Right now I'm on rectangular. So when I pull rectangular, it selects a rectangular area. Now another really important thing that you're doing that's always going to be working in conjunction with anything you work with is your layers palette over here, and it's really, really important. Layers. If you don't see that for some reason, you should. You can get any palette you want by coming down here and selecting it, and you can see what we have open now. We have color, we have adjustments. We really don't need adjustments, but we have it open. I'm going to close it and just stay with the layers palette for right now. We really don't need channels or paths either, but I'll just leave them there. So if I wanted to do, I have two ways of creating a new layer. We have one layer right now, which is basically our picture. So you have layer up here, new layer. So that's one way of creating a new layer, or you have new layer right here. So you have basically the same choices here as you'd have up here. And the reason you'd want to do a new layer maybe is because you wanted to add something on top of this that can move around. So you can move around. So if I go back up to my selection tool, go to my elliptical tool, and say I want to make a selection here. Now I'm on the background layer, and I go to Edit, Copy, or I use my keyboard command, which you see right there. I'm on a Mac. And then I do paste. Now when you come over to your layers palette, you see you have a new layer, but it's exactly right on top of the image it copied. So if I go to my move tool, which is another tool that you'll really be using a real lot, and I grab the image, I'm going to see, you know, what it is that I had copied. And that it copied it as an elliptical shape. And like everything, every single tool in Photoshop, whenever you select it, all your fine-tuning tools are going to be up here. Some have more fine-tunings than others. So I go back to the rectangular, and like I was saying, I could make a rectangular copy of this. But if I try doing a copy right now, I'm on the layer with the elliptical image, so there's nothing over here to copy. So I'd have to go back to the lowest layer and do Command Copy. I mean, not Command Copy, and then just do Paste. Command Copy if I'm using my keyboard on a Mac here. So now I have 3 layers, and I can use my Move tool again and come over here and see that. So that also, say I don't want to look at that, notice you have an eye right here in your layers palette. Just click on that and it's gone. Put on the back burner until you want to use it again. So also another selection tool you have, and I'm going to get back onto the background or I'm not going to be able to select it, would be this lasso tool. So you can be really precise with this tool. I can draw exactly what I want and leave out exactly what I want. On the background layer, do Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. And there's my copy right there. And I have 4 layers now, actually 3 copied layers. So say I wanted to rotate that image, I'd go up to Edit, and this is one, when you go to Edit Transform, you get all these options. This is another one that's going to come in really handy because, like I was saying, with Photoshop, if you don't have to know every tool. You can do a real lot with in Photoshop with just knowing a couple of I don't know, I guess you would call them important tools. So say I wanted to warp this, I guess I did scale. I want to make it bigger. I can, you know, distort it or whatever. So now, say I wanted to, I'm going to go back to it, Edit, Transform. I'm going to do Rotate instead. And I get that tool. And you notice that the image is a little fuzzy, but if you look at the actual image here, it's a little fuzzy too. So I really don't want that. So that is your lasso tool. And you notice you have a couple of, you know, other options underneath it, but for our purposes, we're just going to look at the lasso tool. So another really important tool is going to be the magic wand. So you have quick selection. We're not going to look at that. This is something you'll be using a real lot. So I want to get on my background layer again to use this tool. So again, you look up top and you see all your fine-tuning. So with the magic wand tool, a real important fine-tuning is going to be your tolerance tool. So what a tolerance does is, if you think of you're flying in a plane over blue water into a sandy beach, which is tan, and eventually the blue water starts turning into brown or tan until it's all brown. Well, when you do, say, a tolerance of 2, that would mean that as soon as that blue water made the slightest change to a brown, it would stop. So I'll just show you how it works here. I'm going to go to 8 and do a selection. So see what I get with 8? You know, there's maybe a difference of 8 pixels here in color going towards darker white. So I come up here and I do 32. You know, it gives me more. I come up here, I do 64. It's probably going to give me more than I want. You know, and go right into other areas. Yeah, see, it goes in up here. So that would be too much. So I don't know if this would be the right selection tool unless I could manipulate the settings and make sure that you know, it wasn't picking up other areas of the image that I don't want. Another thing to pay attention with is the contiguous setting. You want that on in using the magic wand. So these are basically your selection tools, and you see I have the marching ants. I don't want those. I'm going to go up to select, do deselect. Now I'm going to go to the crop tool. Say I don't want him in the image, or I don't want him in the image. I come up here and I pull my crop tool and just double click on that, you know, and they're not in the image anymore. It's as simple as that. So you notice up in the fine tuning I have ratio. So I could actually set some type of a square. If my image needed to fall, say I had a space on my web page that was only so big and I needed the image to fall within that, I could use the fine tuning up here and make that image exactly the size I wanted it to be. So the next one would be the color tool, and that's fairly simple. All you do is, you know, come up here and so you see there's a color right there. There's a color right there. You know, here's your color. You see, doesn't it? That looks a little wrong. Oh, okay, that's good.